Hey guys, how are you doing today? Now, from the beginning of the Jedi Order, it was tradition that the Jedi only trained little children. This was so that the little children would not remember their home and would not have formed any attachments to an outside life. Therefore, they would be able to dedicate themselves 100% to the Jedi Order and its ideals, and to dedicate themselves to serving the Force. Of all the Jedi we know of, Anakin Skywalker struggled with this more than any other. Even at the young age of 8, the memory and attachment of his mother proved to be such an insurmountable obstacle that it was one of the main foundations in his fall to the dark side. So it's no wonder why the Jedi didn't want to train children who were older. Rather, they wanted to be like the First Order with their stormtroopers and take them when they were just babies. Okay, so maybe the First Order was, copying the Jedi, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, there is something to be said about training an infant into exactly what you want him to be. The Sith, on the other hand, had a very different approach to what they looked for in an apprentice. Of all of the canon Sith in the movies, Darth Maul is probably the youngest. While we don't have a solid canon explanation yet of how Darth Maul became Darth Sidious's apprentice, we know that in the Legends book Darth Plagueis, Maul came to Sidious when he was just still a little baby. Maul was then raised by droids on the planet Mustafar and other planets while still being trained periodically by Darth Sidious, both in person and via holo. He then was raised in the works on Coruscant, where he learned to hate the Jedi. He used to spend his evenings gazing out across the cityscape at the topmost spire of the Jedi Temple, just thinking about how much he hated the Jedi and how much he wanted to take revenge against them. But this video is not about Darth Maul because he was trained as a child, and that's not the title of the video. So why did the Sith not usually train children? Why do they usually seek out people like Palpatine, who in Legends was a young man when Higo Damask, aka Darth Plagueis, his master, started to train him as Sidious? Or why do they go after Jedi like Dooku or Anakin who have already had intense Force training? Is it because the Sith are lazy and don't want to train them in the foundations of the Force? Or do they simply not want to raise babies? Well, that last one is particularly true. At least, partially. The Sith had a reason why they didn't train babies, and it's revealed in the Legends book Darth Plagueis. After Plagueis discovers that his own master had another secret apprentice named Darth Venomous, young Plagueis strives to learn everything he can about him, but he can't determine much since Plagueis places him in a coma to try to revive him from death with the Force, so he can't exactly ask Venomous. Plagueis can't even figure out how old Venomous had been when Tenebrous found him or anything about his training. According to Plagueis though, set ways of training an apprentice were a thing of the past. Doctrine was for the Jedi. Where the Jedi courted power, the Sith lusted after it. Where the Jedi believed they knew the truth, the Sith possessed it. Owned by the dark side, they ultimately became their knowledge. And here is where we get the reason why the Sith preferred to train grown specimens rather than babies. For the past 500 years, the Sith of the Bane line had eschewed selecting children as apprentices, finding it more advantageous to discover beings who had already been hardened or scarred by life. We see this precisely with Anakin and Darth Sidious. In Legends, shortly after Obi-Wan begins training Anakin, the new Supreme Chancellor Palpatine summons the duo to his office to thank them for everything they did with Naboo. At this time, Palpatine already had his eyes on Dooku as a potential replacement for Maul, but Anakin was also very intriguing to him. In fact, here's what happens during that meeting. "The Force will guide your destiny, Anakin," said Obi-Wan. Palpatine smiled inwardly. "Guide you to me, young Skywalker." Dooku had talent and could be a powerful placeholder, but this seemingly guileless, pleasant-faced boy, this forceful boy, was the one he would take as his apprentice and use to execute the final stage of the grand plan. And here's the culmination of what we've been talking about. "Let Obi-Wan instruct him in the ways of the Force, and let Skywalker grow embittered over the next decade as his mother aged in slavery. The galaxy deteriorated around him, and his fellow Jedi fell to inextricable conflicts. He was too young to be trained in the ways of the Sith, in any case, but he was the perfect age to bond with a father figure who would listen to all his troubles and coax him inexorably over to the dark side. As I told you on Naboo, Anakin," he said finally, "we will continue to follow your career with great interest." And assure that it culminates in the ruination of the Jedi Order and the reascendancy of the Sith, basically. Palpatine always planned on taking Annie as his apprentice, but wanted him to be with the Jedi so he could learn to experience pain and hate before actually becoming a Sith. So what do you guys think of the Sith's general practice to only take grown beings to be their apprentices? Do you think that the new canon should change Maul's age for when he became Sidious's apprentice, or even Darth Plagueis' age, since he became a Sith apprentice around the age of 5? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill